Ladies and gentlemen, this is B-Side, where we focus on the DJ, the underground DJs. We try to bring light to them in their, fabulous art of DJing, the culture. We focus on everything that's positive. And we have the one and only DJ Swirlout, the first lady of the B-Side interviews, I must say. And I'm so glad to have her. She seems to have a great spirit, a great personality, and full of positivity. So ladies and gentlemen, DJ Swirlout, B-Side.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So DJ Swirlout, I think that name is so dope too. I meant to tell you that. It's a really, really dope name. I'm into names. Like I just get like really into the names that I feel like the name really represents the person,
Right.
And I take that so serious. So when did you start DJing?
I started DJing about 13 years ago. I was 10 years old, and really, I think this was around the time when I was in starting middle school, I believe. Before that, I remember my pops, he would just DJing, and him was going to somebody's event and playing music, you know what I mean? Like you got the CDJ and what have you. But he started out with turntables way before I was born.
Wow.
So, he DJing at the elementary school dances. So everybody kind of already knew. They're like, oh, that's your dad. That's Tyrone. He didn't have a DJ name. It was just, he was running audio and kind of like the lighting and stuff like that. Once I got to middle school, I started diving a little bit deeper into music, and I noticed that my generation was kind of like, oh man, why you listen to that? And I'm thinking where's the love for music? You know what I mean? So I started taking my own journey, because a lot of the times people would just be listening to what everybody else is listening to. From there, I started out with instruments. I started playing drums. I started playing keyboard and bass, and played in my pop's band for a little while. He had a gospel group, and gospel always ran through the family, whether it was singing or you were playing an instrument. For me, I really love playing drums.
Okay.
So, I kind of stopped playing because I got to that point where it was my dad was so excited, but he was like, if you could play, I could play. And I don't know what it is about that, but it always made me think, I don't want to do this no more. It's not fun no more. So, long story short though, I asked for a Christmas gift. I'm like, I want this controller. I've never seen this before. But I was watching, DJ Jazzy Jeff and Spinnerella and so many different people. At this point, I'm already dived deep, I'm already deep into music at this point. Before my grandma had passed, she had passed down a set of CDs, and it was over 300 CDs. So I'm going through these 300 CDs, and I'm like, dang, I didn't even know this existed. Quad City DJs and James Brown, his deepest collections. And I'm like, man, this is so crazy. So I got my CDJ, and after that, it was just a wrap. I started teaching myself because my dad didn't really know a lot about the electronic side of DJing. He's just I got the CDJ, and then I knew how to use turntables. I don't know nothing about this controller you hook up to your laptop. So I kind of had to, teach myself from there. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I just took it from there.
That's wonderful. I definitely heard you play before. So if you taught yourself, then that's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing, because it is a big jump from using, the turntables and going to controls. And we're going to talk about that later. It's definitely a big step. It's kind of easier in a sense, than putting on, you know, getting a record and putting a needle is very different. So do
Yeah.
you remember, like, your father did, I'm curious to know, what kind of turntables did he use? Did he have Technique 1200s by any chance?
So he did
Okay.
have the Techniques. He had photos of his setup, but I never got a chance to see him use turntables. So that was another
Wow.
thing. Yeah.
That's definitely amazing. Did you ever get a chance to use turntables?
I have. So
Which ones were they? The Technique 1200s, or it was something else?
there was something else.
Okay.
I think they were like, I know it was like Audio Technica.
Okay, those are dope. Those are dope. How did you like those when you used them? What was your experience?
So the first time I ever hopped on some turntables is actually, it's this photo I share frequently. Basically, it was somebody's birthday party. Okay. And I just thought, well, let me hop on these. I know I haven't used turntables before, but I was like, let me throw myself out there real quick. And it was an experience for me. I know I didn't know how to use it all the way, but I kind of got the gist of it once I just put my hands on it. Yeah. I started playing, like, what was it? At the time, I think I was DJing for like a Sweet 16 and they like Chief Keef or something like that. So I started mixing in Chief Keef with, I believe it was Jeezy. So I don't know particularly what the songs were, but I knew that, okay, I know how to mix. Let me go on ahead and see if I can actually do this with some turntables. Yeah. And I kind of was shocked at myself. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it.
So like nobody showed you, like, this is the pitch, this is what you do with the needle. Nobody showed you that, you just got on and.
Yes, because I was watching the other DJ who let me hop on before I was watching him for a good hour. Okay. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching him because my mom was she's an event planner. So I'm behind the scenes anyway. I'm just watching him, I'm like, I think I got it. Even though I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Wow. I got on and it was one of the best moments of the entire night. Everybody like, yo, what's your name? And stuff like that. And it's just like, man, you know, you never know until you try.
Well, what was the most challenging thing that you felt about using on turntables opposed to the controllers? Because now you can compare the difference, and I would like to hear you elaborate on that.
The most challenging thing was like actually trying to transition through a scratch. Like for me, I'm like, okay, you got the controller, you know, like if you touch it, you know, it's gonna make a sound, but you know, of course, if you have the control, it'll make whatever sound you want to make. With the actual vinyl, I'm like, okay, this is gonna take a little bit more technique. So
not to cut you off, but do you know how to scratch? Do you know like the basic scratch, like the baby scratch, which is really the basic scratch you could do with anything? You know how to do that? Okay, so you found that harder to do on the turntables opposed to the controllers? Wow. Okay.
Yes, the baby scratch was a little bit more difficult for me. I'm like,
wow. So that is amazing right there, because you don't hear that too much from people. Just hate. I know some people that just like, I'm never gonna touch turntables. I have no reason to, you know. And I respect everybody's opinion. I respect, you know, whatever you choose to do. I respect it. You know, I'm not the person that's gonna argue. I'm not the person that's gonna be like, nah, this is the best thing. I use both. I use controllers and I use turntables. You know, but that's amazing. So what software? Before we get to the software question, what do you prefer and what do you like better from using the controllers and turntables? What do you prefer? If you had a choice, what would you choose?
Oh, like meaning which turntable would I prefer to use?
No, like what do you like better, controllers or turntables?
Ooh, I like the hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the hybrid, being able to use records and use your laptop at the same time. And this is like my new setup, the Rain 1.
Yeah, we definitely gonna get to that.
Yeah, I really want to add on. They got this extension where you can add on the actual needle and play records off of this now. I want that.
I seen that. That's dope. That is, the Rain 1 is definitely an amazing piece of equipment. I've used it several times. I have the Rain 12, which is like the brother. Like that's the father of the Rain 1. Question: what did you have before the Rain 1s? What controller you had?
I had the DJ SR, and that was the first controller I ever gotten. So 10 years, 10 years back, that was the one that I asked for Christmas. So I've been rocking with that, and then this year I just got this.
Now the ones you had before, was the platter spinning? Did it have a rotating platter?
No.
So how was that right there? Because that's a big transition. How did you feel about the spinning platter? Because actually those platters on the Rain 1s are very strong. Was it a struggle in the beginning to get used to those motorized platters?
Yeah, I think the first day when they came in, I was like,
it was running away from you when you grabbed it.
Yeah, I'm like, gosh. But one thing I've learned about myself as a DJ actually this year is that I just love a challenge.
Okay.
So when it comes to challenges, and I feel like part of being a DJ and mastering the craft for myself is being able to put myself to the test with different technologies, different ways of doing things, what have you, music. That's why I say I call myself an open format DJ, because I want to go through everything. I've been through Indian, Bangladesh music, all types of music, stuff people would think, oh, I don't need to listen to this. I don't need to know that type of music. But it was definitely hard the first day. And then finally I was like, okay, you've been watching these videos and learning through a lot of different other people. Just apply what you learned. And so I'm thinking, okay, let me go back to the baby scratch. Go back to the fundamentals. And finally I started getting it down packed. I'm like, man, this is smooth.
Yeah, that's the baby scratch is the foundation to all scratches. Software that you use now, what are you using?
Serato DJ Pro.
Okay. Have you used any other software before Serato?
Virtual DJ.
Virtual DJ. What do you like virtual DJ, and what don't you like about it, and what do you like about it?
I think with virtual DJ, it served its purpose. For new DJs, I definitely think it's good to start off with.
You feel it's easy to use? It's more user friendly?
I would say it could be. For me, I knew that like using that with before I got my first DJ deck, I was actually borrowing a DJ deck, and it was one of those, I don't know what the name of it was, but it was like one of those flat ones. It's small, and it kind of got the same turntable feel of like the DDJ, but it's a little bit flatter. I would just use that for practice. Virtual DJ was definitely a good practice system for me, with the effects and even with just blending. But I feel like now that I've learned a lot of what I've learned, it would kind of be more so in the way to use virtual DJ. I feel like we've used systems for different time frames in our journey for a reason. So.
Tell me a crazy party that you did to where you felt like you shut it down, and it was like one of the best parties. I know you did many. You feel like it was one of the best parties you did. Could you share a story about that?
Yes. One of the best parties I've ever done in my life.